segment, and Monica Mayuni Kayombo is in the studio to give us today's analysis. Monica, good evening to you. How are you today?
I'm very fine. Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
And we are twinning.
I've just noticed.
Yeah, you know.
Like mines.
Okay.
What stories do you have for this evening?
I have 3 stories for analysis, and the first one is the story where a Chinsali woman has burnt her husband with hot water. Then I'm also going to talk about the just released grade 12 results. And the last story is on the farmers that are stranded in Livingstone. So I'll start, I think, this analysis with a story coming from Livingstone, where farmers from distant places are stranded with no proper food and accommodation due to delayed payments by the banks for the maize they supplied to the Food Reserve Agency. Well, farmers have become the target of criminals, and I think for the past few days we've continued seeing stories concerning these farmers that are stranded in many ways. Just recently we had even one farmer that died whilst waiting for his money at the bank, at a commercial bank. I think what has happened this year is very, very bad, and if FRA is not going to improve the system, we are going to see many farmers opting to actually sell their maize to briefcase farmers. And this is what the government has always been discouraging the people. But looking at the sufferings that the farmers have undergone this year, I think next year we are likely to see a situation where most farmers would opt to sell their maize to the briefcase farmers. You know, I have a suggestion to actually FRA, though I hear they issued a statement yesterday. Going forward, they must actually consider introducing mobile money payments. One of the reasons the FRA has given for the delay is that most of the farmers do not have bank accounts, therefore they are required to physically go to these commercial banks for them to get the hard cash. Well, that is very true. Most of the farmers do not have the bank accounts. And the fact that FRA knows what is obtaining, they should have actually considered mobile money payment because most of the farmers, even in rural areas, do have mobile numbers. Only maybe a few do not have, and if they had done that by last year, definitely most of them would have been receiving their money through mobile money in the comfort of their homes. We've seen that even criminals have taken advantage. Some of them in Livingstone, I think 3 of them were swindled just as, was it yesterday? They were swindled by criminals. And then these farmers, again, the reason why they opt to sell their maize to FRA is that FRA usually buys their maize at a higher price. And this year, I think they were buying at 340 kwacha per 50 kg bag of maize. Whilst the briefcase farmers, majority of them were buying the maize, the same maize, 50 kg bag of maize at around 250. Now, I want you to get the gist of what I'm trying to communicate here. FRA was selling, was buying at 340 per 50 kg bag. Then the briefcase farmers were buying, I think, the same 50 kg bag at 250. So these people that decided to sell their maize to FRA, okay, they are actually spending more than those that sold their maize to the briefcase farmers, because they need, whilst they are waiting for their money to be paid, they need to pay for accommodation. For those that are not paying for accommodation, they are subjected to a very unconducive environment. They are sleeping outside and they need to carry the blankets for them to sleep at the banks or the nearest places. Other than that, they also need to eat. You feel sorry for those that have babies, children, because just the other day I was seeing some women there with with babies waiting for their payment. Those actually have a double tragedy in that they don't just need to look after themselves, they also need to look after their babies. So they are subjected to this unconducive environments, which might actually result in some form of disease outbreak, including cholera. Because, I mean, some of them have decided to start cooking within the area. Some of them are trying their level best to save the money. They are buying food from, anybody. They are not choosing because all they want is cheap food. But sometimes cheap is expensive. So you don't know, how the certain food that they are eating is prepared. So I think FRA must seriously consider paying the farmers using mobile money method. Then just today we had the Minister of Education announcing that the grade 12 results, saying that the pass rate has been very, very good. The country has for the first time exceeded the 70% mark in the grade 12 school certificate pass rate, a historic achievement that has seen this 136,434 candidates representing 70.27% who sat for the 2025 examinations obtaining full certificates. Congratulations to all the grade 12s that have made it to go to university and colleges. But there's one thing that I want to talk about, that I want to bring out concerning these results. The government introduced free education, and I think there was a lot of concern from parents and a lot of Zambians that the quality of education would be compromised because the teacher ratio is not that good. We have a situation where most classes have more pupils, and the teachers could not manage to attend or give attention to each and every pupil. So the teachers in this case have to be commended. They need a pat on their back for managing these many pupils. It's not possible for the pupils to make it if the teachers were not very good. They must have employed a strategy, a very good strategy that has enabled the pupils, to grasp what they've been learning. And an appeal to the pupils that have made it. Yes, they've made it very good, but they should not get so excited because there's a university coming, and they must continue studying hard even as they go to university. They should not be swayed just because they've passed and think that university education is so easy. Even college education, it's not easy. So they must be consistent. They must continue studying hard so that they can also pass with flying colors after their tertiary education. And I go to the last story where a woman has burnt her husband, and I think the reasons for that has not been given. I strongly suspect that it is due to infidelity, because usually love issues are the ones that could make a woman react in such a way. This has been happening for some time, not only in Zambia, but I think across the world. But now that most women know themselves, they've come to understand the self-love, they value themselves more, it's high time, I think, married women knew who they are. If you're not happy with what your spouse is doing, I think you better just leave the marriage instead of, burning somebody with hot water. And it's actually, this woman is actually fortunate that the husband has not died, because if he died, she would have faced either murder or attempted, she would have faced murder. So to avoid trouble, I think if you know your emotions, if you know yourself, it's better that you do not react when such things happen. You just talk to your spouse if you're not happy about something, and if your spouse is not ready to change, you better leave than fighting. It's for old people, and you can actually land yourself in trouble. You can go to prison for fighting. So there are so many ways in which you can avoid that. Again, I think that is also an appeal to men. Men should not just marry just because they've heard that somebody out there is married. Only those that are ready must marry. And when you marry, you must be very serious. You must also be very, very committed to your relationship so that you avoid such trouble as this. And again, before I leave, I'll just add to on another story from Eastern Province, where my Mbuyas are at it again. There are very high cases of defilement in Eastern Province, and that is very, very worrying. All the time, I don't know what is happening with Eastern Province. When you talk about the high cases of sexually transmitted diseases, it's Eastern Province. Early marriages, it's Eastern Province. So there must be a problem there that should be addressed. I think the non-governmental organizations must take very keen interest in what is happening in Eastern Province. They should not just leave the works for the government. There's a bigger problem. Maybe it could be cultural issues, because most of the girls in Eastern Province do certain things that are not supposed to happen whilst they are still young. Maybe that could be one of the reasons why we have such high incidences of defilements, early marriages, and sexually transmitted diseases. So I think the stakeholders must take interest in what is happening in Eastern Province. That is what I have for today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.